Hello everyone, my name's Notepad and I write games for fun. Let me turn on the actual music and not a goddamn kazoo cover. Oh no, what did I should have prepared for this. I don't care, State Farm, go away. Go away, ads. Be gone, ads. Oh my god, no, please, cease in the name of God. I don't, there we go. Got some nice piano in the background. So you may be wondering what the hell this is. What is today? Well, I potentially have a new project in the works, but as with most things in my life, it's not as easy as it sounds. As you can see by the title, this thing is called SPRUG Workshop Design Theory Time, and that's kind of exactly what it is. It's about me going over trying to get a very specific thing, that very specific piece of design theory, which I'm having some difficulty with. And effectively what I want to do is I want to make a game, which is a martial arts game. A game about, as you see in the title, punching a motherfucker in the face with dice. However, amusingly enough, this is quite difficult. Because, one, there's not actually a lot of information to go off of behind the scenes. It's a lot of... Unfortunately, I think one of the key things is that you don't actually have that many games that focus on this. Or if they do, they focus on more of the cinematic aspect rather than the punching a motherfucker in the face aspect. And that's troublesome for a few reasons. Because the few games that I was kind of investigating, you have things like Feng Shui, Hong Kong Action Theater, Fight, Thrash, there's a few other games. Either they fall into two distinct camps. You have the incredibly rules-light cinematic experience games. Your Wushus, your... I'm trying to... I know there's other games, but Fight Last Stand, that's it. Final Stand or Last Stand or something like that. It's these incredibly, story-rich, the players are saying, I jump up in the air and I do a quadruple flip through the air and I kick him in the face using my awesome Buddha bootness. And GM's like, oh my god, roll 5 bajillion dice and you're cool. There's that. And then you have the Super Crunch games. And the Super Crunch games are ones that want to track literally everything you do. Or you get things like the Street Fighter game, which is the Street Fighter RPG and doesn't fucking work. Well, it does work and it's not terrible, but it's just very odd to use the storyteller system for a game about being, M. Bison. But it's how do we get this to work? How do we facilitate a game focused around punching someone in the face and pretty much making your body the weapon? Monks and various other martial artists have always kind of had that weird spot in tabletop RPGs. Because 95% of the time, they're outclassed terribly if there's a weapon involved. And that's how it is in real life, unfortunately. If bring a knife to a fist fight, the guy with the knife is probably going to win. You'll bring a sword in and suddenly, everyone gets bad and people die. I want that to be a part of this. But I don't quite know how to do it properly. So I'm kind of this is more my rubber duck session. Me sitting here, talking to myself, trying to enunciate what I'm looking for. Because I understand it, what the point is, you could say, but the actual execution of it is the part that's troubling me slightly. Because there's a lot of things to consider. Like, you don't quite understand how much there is in the act of punching someone is a very complex one, ironically enough. And the games that choose to go down the more crunchy route make it exactly as it is, very, very complex. How strong are you? How fast are you? Are they standing? Are they moving? Are they trying to block? Are they trying to dodge? Because I posed this question to a friend of mine who plays RPGs as well. It's just like, what is the most optimal way to punch someone in an RPG? And he didn't quite know how to answer, because at first you might think the D&D method of rolls your strength and versus their AC. But that's not very satisfying because it applies it to everything. If I want to hit someone with a sword, strength plus AC, strength versus AC. I want to punch someone, strength versus AC. I want to do a plethora of things, strength, dex, will, whatever, versus AC. That's the point. Oh, okay, that's gracious. Now, so far, what I want this game to be, I have the tentatively named Fist of Chaos, but again, that's kind of my own idea behind it, is getting that making a game that facilitates, that gives the idea to punching someone in the face with your fist. And it's interesting because if you kind of see, there's nothing on the first page, it's all on the subsequent pages here. Let me boost up the size of this. So, these are all my notes I've had so far. So we have, this is the initial pitch. That's here, let me pull up his name real fast. Exon, writer of that's his Discord name, that's what he goes by, and his game Elements of Chaos. He proposed this game after Project Tactics ended. And what Project Tactics was, for those who don't know, was my previous game I worked on this. It was the previous game I worked on this stream, channel, I don't know what you'd call this. But that was all about, being a warlord and fighting your way through, Fantasyland. It turned out pretty good, 96 pages. But everything also flowed fairly well with that game. There's a clear idea of A to B to C with it. This one's a little bit more complex, because you have to turn your body into the weapon. There's not this complex series of weapons. There's pole axes, battle axes, swords, great swords, long swords, short swords. There's none of that. How do you make a fist? How do you make your kick? How do you do anything better? How do you do it? How do you turn your body into the weapon? Now, it's interesting because every game that I looked for inspiration, and again, they fell into I would say there's two major camps. There's the narrative versus simulationist route. Simulationist, your GURPS martial arts, some of your fight stuff, some of your thrash stuff. That's the idea of, we want to simulate this. We want to simulate you punching someone in the face. The narrativist camp is a lot more about, telling the story, telling these martial arts stories that we're so fond of, Bruce Lee's and things like that. I didn't find any game, really, that filled a niche that I feel is a strange one, to say the least, and that's just people fighting. It sounds strange to say, just people fighting with martial arts. Because every game also had a caveat on top of it. Every game had that little check mark nearby that said, but. The simulationist, the narrativist games were all about, high-flying action kung fu battles, but you're always going, the players are the ones defining things, Your flying dragon super kick is the exact same as his lotus spinning punch attack. It's the same thing. You're still going to get that dice. You can say that you're using your flying monkey paw awesome super attack. It does absolutely nothing different than if you say, I'm using my punch attack. It does nothing different. Everything is the same except the description. Thus, it's on the GM. Now, the simulationist route's completely different. The main problem there is that they have to acknowledge one key fact about martial arts. Martial arts fucking sucks when a knife gets involved, or any kind of weapon, really. If you've ever watched any of those action movies, Indonesian ones, The Raid 2, The Night Comes for Us, Prison Break, there's a few other ones. I know, I've watched all of them. I love them to death. I can't think of them at the top of my head. Is anytime they get into a fist fight, they're always trying to block. They're always trying to dodge weapons, or they use pieces of the terrain to beat enemies' heads against the wall. They grab knives and stab it into them. They're fighting using weapons. And the simulationists games always have to put that little note in. You're like, oh, well, yeah, no, you're really cool and all for using your awesome kung fu abilities, but the second someone brings a gun to the fight or someone brings a knife to the fight, the entire dynamic changes. And that sucks. It's always hard to, SPRUG got its roots, you could say, from GURPS. It's a bizarro GURPS. GURPS says, here's a toolbox, build whatever you want. My thing with SPRUG is I want to hand you something that does one thing very well. I'm going to hand you a toolbox. I'm going to hand you the tools you need to run something very specific. Not I'm going to hand you the IKEA furniture store and ask you to assemble a desk. No, I'm going to give you the goddamn desk you asked for. Does it do anything else? Absolutely not. It does its one thing. And that's what I'm looking for. Now, you may bring up the argument, what about Fight in Fight 2nd Edition? I like the ideas behind Fight. My problem is it is tied to its genre, you could say, its ideas. Because fundamentally speaking, Fight is about being if I can actually breathe. Unfortunately for me, allergy season has kicked in, so bear with me. Fight is about playing a 2D fighter. That's what it's about. You have your life bar, you have your spirit gauge, you have to pull your special moves. You don't even level up traditionally. Your character is you, the player, playing the character, because you level up more by learning new combos from your character. It's like you pulled up the screen and say, hey, I finally mastered the ability to do Shoryuken, or I finally mastered the Hadouken. That's what it is. And that's not what I was looking for either, because, again, fighting games play by their own logic. But for some reason, when I read the initial pitch, now this initial pitch of the game was by a guy off the Game Design Discord, and he said an arcade game themed system, part theme, part gameplay elements. And the initial thing that kind of hit me was yeah, I can use it. This is all I got right here. Oof. So this is all that he really gave me to work with. And what I found was that I was like, you know what? Let's do a fighting game. There's not many out there. Let's try it something fun. I think this kind of basic frameworks kind of lit the spark in the back of my head. And I didn't find anything that really scratched my itch. Now, what I like to do a lot with my games, I like to research other games. And I like to find things about those other games that worked well or didn't work well, so I can steal them effectively or, have that idea in mind. Anytime I recommend a game to someone, I always bring up the cat of things that may not be completely accurate to what they're requesting, but similar enough that they can crib ideas from. I want to run a post-apocalyptic game, like a la Fallout. Oh, okay, check out Mutant Year Zero first, just because it has the settlement rules. It has, the idea of, mutations and cool things like that. You may not use it. I'm not telling you to use it. What I'm telling you to do is look at it, examine what you want from this game. And that's kind of what I, initially like to do. Like, what am I looking for? What game am I seeing? Project Tactics was a lot of old school role-playing games. your first edition AD&Ds, your second edition D&Ds, your plethora of other games about kind of building and managing a band of people. I didn't find that many rules on the specifics behind it, so I had to make my own. Which brings me to this. The entire thing kind of building up to this was me trying to find games that really fit that need. And I couldn't find any. None at all. Nothing found its way to get to scratch that itch I needed. Nothing did. My fight was way too committed to its fighting game roots. GURPS is GURPS. And a plethora of other games that just didn't quite do what I wanted. I wanted an action movie, but I also wanted martial arts to feel interesting. Then I started looking at Absolver. Now, Absolver's a 2017, I believe, game that didn't get a lot of love, to be honest. It had a fairly unique pitch to it. But the idea is that you use your that you pretty much build your unique combat deck of your own. That's yours. And you build it up, you fight with other players, fight the bosses and enemies on this island. Cool, it's interesting. And I've always been interested in Absolver. Absolver is one of those games that I think kind of got the short end of the metaphorical stick in some cases. Just because its concepts were so interesting, I don't think they could carry a full... The concept was so interesting that I don't think a lot of people could fully commit to it or wanted to fully commit to a game like that. But I watched some of the fights. And I was looking at it, and I looked back and saw these games after watching a couple of these Absolver fights. It was a completely random video I found. Just browsing YouTube at 2 a.m. Like, you know what? That's... What about this? What is making me think about this so deeply? And then I realized there are no games that really allow you to make your fighter your own. Everything's a maneuver. Everything you build on top of everything else. You don't feel... Well, I think the best way to word it is something like Fight. Says you are a fighting game character and you have these very preconceived notions of how to fight. And you have very preconceived ideas of, oh, you're going to pull off an aerial. Oh, you're going to do this. But again, nothing feels unique to me. Yeah, I'm pulling off an aerial move with all these cool attachments to it. But it's not mine, really, and anyone could really make this if they really wanted to. Yeah, it's mine in name, and that's how I kind of did it, but it doesn't really feel personal. It's a toolbox. And looking at all these other games, I really got the impression that it was hard to do. Because anytime you let the players create anything by themselves, it's hard. Because what players do... Because players are rational actors. That's one thing you always have to remember. Now, if you don't know what a rational actor is, it's effectively someone who's acting in their own best interest. And that is, we have to assume every single person is always acting in their best interest. If you suspect that someone isn't, they're an irrational actor and can be discarded. They're not someone who is thinking correctly, effectively. So I think the best way of wording it is, if you presented two options to a player, one option is an attack that does 500 damage. Instant, 50-50 attack. 50-50. You win, you either get 500 damage or nothing happens. Then you also give them the option of a damage that does 50 damage. But it always hits. The rational actor player always is going to select the 50-50 500. Because it's in their best interest to roll that dice 50-50 of doing 500 damage, or 10 rounds doing 50. Everyone wants the bigger one. It's gambling theory. It's basic theory. However, if you put a cost to it, well, here's your 50-50 attack. 50% of the time, you hit directly and do 500 damage and instantly kill the opponent. The other 50%, you die. No one will select that move. Absolutely no one. Because there's the risk. The cost goes up. The rational actor says, it's in my best interest to not select that because there's a chance I lose instantly. So 50-50, that's not a good shot. 50 damage reliable is a lot better. Yeah, it's going to take me longer to do something, but rationally speaking, it's a better idea. Now let's bring this back to my original point. A player who you give the opportunity to create something is always going to do what's their best interest, not exactly in the game's best interest. If you give a player the option of okay, build your own combo, for example, a smart player, this player who knows the system, is going to find what works for them. All right, there's here, if I combine this ability with this ability, I can stun the opponent endlessly. They can't move. I win. They're going to find that because it's in their best interest too. If they find an ability that heals them, for example, they're going to spam it. Why do you think metas exist in games, for example? Metas exist because someone finds what works best and everyone copies them. Because that's the meta. That's what's impactful. That's what works. They're rational. They're rational actors. They're doing what fits best. Now, nailing that is, I think, the hardest part of this. Because at first I was like, well, I want my cake and eat it too. I want to be able to let players design their own fighter, design their own style, but I need to restrict them. I can't let them design whatever because they'll immediately break the game. But then I thought about it. I took a step back. Fighting is huge. Martial arts, huge. Taekwondo, judo, boxing, that's a spoiler for later, kickboxing, Senegalese wrestling, Numba fighting. There's hundreds of fighting styles out in the world. Thousands, millions even, of people learning how to hit one another with their fists. And you have to think, what makes each of those unique? What makes this way of punching someone, a motherfucker in the face, different than this one of punching a motherfucker in the face? What makes these different? And the answer came to me being, I don't fucking know. That seems like a cop-out answer, but it's hard to fully get to it. Kind of bringing it back a little bit further. You get so many fights in movies, games, that all have their own flow to them. Like, originally, I looked at games that let you build your own combos. Absolver was one. God Hand, PS2 game, fantastic. Remember Me, it's like 2008, 2010, something like that. I can't remember. Xbox 360 game. And all of them let you build your own combos. But it was funny because every single one of those had the combo. This is what worked for them, and this is what they did. And it was interesting watching Absolver because the one guy I watched a good solid about 4 or 5 hours of his stuff, just looking at these fights go on, is that he gravitated toward this style of jabbing and fighting, and because it was fast, it was dangerous, the opponent couldn't block it, and I realized all the little parts that went into it. I'm going to use Absolver for example. You have your 4 stances of where you're facing your enemy, And each of those stances has a certain number of cards associated with them in their deck that all flow into each other, but you can also cancel into another one where you can change your perspective and then fight differently. And then you're trying to parry and you're trying to dodge, but only this style can dodge, but this style can, block, and this style can do little fade outs, and this style has weird stagger moves, and this style does something completely different. And then I realized I was seeing the trees in the forest, you could say. I wasn't looking at the greater scheme of things. Because every single style, every single move had the same idea. Me delivering damage to you. So, what I came up with, kind of going through what I've written so far. I've been talking a lot, but that's just, again, this is theory time with Notepad. Let me see. So the two difficult things about this is, one, the game has to be built around solo engagements. It's hard to build one of these. I think one of the main reasons why a lot of these RPGs don't exist is because in the movies, games, whatever, it's you versus another guy. It's not you versus 10 guy, or you and 3 of your mates versus one guy. It's one-on-one. They're personal fights. It's the Yakuza dramatic ripping of shirts off as you try to power bomb a guy from up above using your flaming dragon style, or it's you screaming the name of your dead father as you charge a guy in the rain with your cool ninja sword because you're a badass and that's what you do. And these one-on-one engagements make for difficult, one may say, games. Because how do you balance that? Do you balance that? It's hard to get the idea. You sure want to know what I'm doing of the dead silence is I'm looking at another Twitch channel that's for some reason watching me right now. My guess is as good as theirs. Hello, Always News. How are you? Oh goodness. Please stop freaking out, computer. Yeah. So, let's see. Okay, so that's kind of the key idea. What I want to do is I want to make fights fast and dynamic. Pretty much every fight needs to be over quickly because the party needs to get involved. You run dramatically into a room, John jumps into battle with him, Phil jumps over into battle with him, and Mary jumps into battle with the other guy. All of those fights need to be resolved quickly. Because nobody wants to sit there and wait for their friend to finish. Because that's boring. Now, my other idea is pretty much having allies and being able to just give bonuses or assist you in doing a fight. It's, that classic martial arts trope of three of us versus him, we can totally take him, and everyone's kicking around and he's just dodging deftly and kicking another person in the face. So these attributes were actually a bit of writing I did, and these were the 4 techniques of this fictional style of fighting. And there was agility, the kind of thing of speed, brute, technique, and breakers. And I just kind of put it in there, get the idea. I was like, maybe I should use D8s. And I'm like, maybe I should use a combo. And combo doesn't work. So then I moved over to the Absolver system. Strength, Vit, Will, Dex, Endurance. But my problem was stamina. You don't think about that until you realize he who possesses the most stamina wins. And my friend pointed that out, but I was kind of rubber ducking with them, kind of just talking to them about it. And it's fascinating because he doesn't play RPGs. But I wanted someone's outside opinion. Always get someone's outside opinion. Doesn't matter who it is, just talk to someone about it and see if they understand what you're talking about. If they don't understand, try to simplify it. But the way he already said, being it's like, well, why I'm just encouraged at this point to have more stamina. Because whoever has the most stamina is going to be able to do the most stuff and do the most damage. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. Shit. So I'm like, okay, that doesn't work. And then I tried to use the Grand Belm system. Now, watchers of this series, series, I guess, at this point. Is it a series? Yeah, it's a series. No, it was Grand Belm Dancing in the Midnight Realm was a game that I wrote around a month ago now. Well, fixed up anyway. And it had a fairly unique system of combat. I called it the beat system. And pretty much every action you did boosted your combo die up. So you went from D4, D6, D8, D10, D12, D20. But you could never repeat the same action. So if you attack on D4, if you tried to attack on D8, you would roll D4, you would reset your combo. So you always wanted to do something different. And I found that did produce some interesting results. Because I asked some of my friends, okay, what would you do in this situation? Here's your situation, here's what you would do. Some of my friends said, well, I would rather plink. Build up D6, D8s, and plink at them. Because I'm going to do more reliable damage that way. Other of my friends said, I want to build up to the very max, then do a big hit. I want to build up there, and I want to deliver that final crushing blow with one solid attack. And it interested me because that system, initially I thought this works perfectly for this. I can just port everything over, basic idea. The main problem with that is Grand Belm had weapons, it had magic, it had abilities that gave each combo building move purpose. You wanted to defend yourself because you didn't know when the barrage was going to happen. You wanted to brace yourself because you didn't know when a melee attack was going to come in. You wanted to always prepare yourself for the future because you didn't know. Because you were going 100 million miles an hour through magic realms as magical girls try to blow you out of the space with fucking mechs. So you have to ask yourself, what combos can you do with martial arts? And I couldn't find any. It's either resulted in having like a very specific methodology to win. It was well, of course, I'm going to spam strength and just spam heavies. Because, like, what are you going to do? Not hit me? Or I'm just going to hit you with lights. Or I'm just going to use a weapon because it does the most damage, obviously. And it was like, fuck. It doesn't work. Shit. Back to the drawing board. So I went back to the drawing board. And what this entire thing has been culminating into is me trying to figure out what the best way to do this is. I've been talking for effectively 40 minutes about theory. And what I found was that I'm gonna take a step back further. Now look at martial arts. I'm gonna look at one martial art, one style of fighting, boxing. That's what this stream is mostly about. How do we make the perfect boxer? There's 100 things go into boxing. Your style, your strength, how fast you are, what's your technique? Can you stand up still? Where is your damage being taken? 100 jabs to the chest hurts like hell and gonna bring you down eventually, but one solid jab to his head is gonna bring him down instantly. A knockout punch is just as good as 100, a fly swatter. So how do you make it work? So, looking here in my handy dandy notepad document, this was me kind of going through another, but I broke it down into these. These are popularly known as the 4 biggest styles of boxing. Swarmers are your tiny guys who fast on their feet, they go in, do 100 little blows, and they just savage a person. They swarm you with punches. And they back out when they lose the advantage and go back in. They're always in your face. Outboxers are a lot further away. They're winning on skill and technique and delivering long jabs to keep you at bay. You can't get close to them because they are going to punch you in the face, and because they're trying to keep you at distance. And they don't necessarily focus on any one particular thing, but their idea is that they're going to keep you at distance and they're going to punish you if you try to get close. Sluggers are arguably the opposite. They want to get in close and they want to hit you once. They're the big guys. They're your heavy hitters. They're the ones who are going to beat you right over the head and knock your ass out in one punch. Those are sluggers. That's their thing. That's what they're designed to do. Boxer punchers are kind of your hybrids. You have the strength of the slugger, the technique of the outboxer, and the attacks of the swarmer, but you don't specialize in any single one. Your goal is to mix it up. Overcommitting to one style means that you're going to weaken yourself on others. So, what do I want to do here? Well, I want to turn boxing into a tabletop game, into a tabletop RPG, and how do you do that? So, what I'm going to do is, so we have our styles, our attributes, and our stances. What I'm thinking about doing is each style, I'll put style, is going to give you a number of moves. So, let's say, I'm just going to give an example one for this. So, Swarmer, let's say we have a Swarm Punch. Actually, Fly Punch. And what Fly Punch does is this succession. Four attacks in succession with a finesse check. Deal strength and damage with each punch. So that's just one of your basic abilities. This is what you do. Now, the Swarmer would theoretically have, let's say, 5-6 abilities. 5-6 of these, we'll call them abilities for now. Yeah, screw it. Abilities. And all of these abilities do something slightly different. Hello, how are you doing? I'm still breathing. That's all I can really do. I'm trying to do the wonderful world of game design by learning how to punch someone in the face with a boxing. A lot more complicated than you think. Okay, let's see. So each one theoretically would have 4 or 5 moves. Moves, yeah. So what brings you by? Let's see. Let's see. Our outboxer. Let's call it a long. Welcome aboard. So yeah, I mostly this stream and various other ones that I've done about tabletop game development because that's my jam. I don't know if you're more into the video game side of development or you're on the tabletop side, but this is kind of what I do. I do tabletop games. If you're more into like the video side of things, hopefully I can, at least show you something or help you out with something you need, but here I am. It's a long punch. Makes let's check, make sure everything I can. To strengthen damage with each long punch the character makes a. Finesse check to strengthen damage with each punch. Maybe add something in the. God, I wish it was my job. God. No, I just do this as. This is kind of just my hobby. To give you the breadth of my autism. These are all games I've written in one way or another. I have written a lot of things. And the streaming thing I started about 2 months ago? 2, 3? God, I can't even remember. About 3 months ago at this point, I want to say. And it's just me effectively just talking to myself. I don't know if you've ever heard of a rubber duck development, coding or anything like that. Just kind of talking to something you can get the, the idea of what you're actually trying to achieve. And are any of these published? Are any of these like some fantastic game you can search up and buy for $15 off your local game store? No. They're free. I post these things pretty actively anywhere that. So it's like, I'm looking for this very specific game. Merry Christmas. Here you go. It's all yours. But this latest one I'm doing right now, kind of the boxing RPG that doesn't need to exist. This one is kind of a combination of things. You missed the first about 40 minutes of the stream of where I was drunkenly talking about the wonders of how there are no good fighting games out there. And kind of going off a variety of rants about game design in general. this open twice. You can tell I'm doing something. Well, let's see, each successful building attack. Hopefully I'm entertaining you at least. I know this isn't exactly the most pulse-pounding excitement of a stream ever. You probably watch just me staring at a notepad document, debating the finer points of my life, and drinking cheap beer. But if you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm open to anything, really. You know, I've always made it a point to answer questions. So, we'll call these attributes. So, let's take a basic idea. Theoretical, of course, because everything is theoretical. So our theoretical idea is that we have our Boxer Man. We're going to name him Boxer Man, too, just because I am lazy. So, Boxer Man. Boxer Man here is a boxer. He's going to be all strength. Right, these are his big things. Strength, and we're going to give him 10 attribute points. This is just these are rough numbers. Nothing of this is permanent. So we'll say 5 there, 2, 3, and he has 0 break. He has no ability to defend himself from holds or anything like that, but that's not the point. He's supposed to punch guys, as the stream title says. You know, punching a motherfucker in the face. And let's say he starts out as a slugger. Let's see. Combo builder. Strength check against break. Dealings. Times 2 damage. The strength damage. Dealing strength damage. So, your basic goal. So, let's say you're a Boxer Man. Here's the slugger. So his goal is going to want to build a variety of moves that assist him in building his momentum. He's going to want him building momentum, spending that momentum for big hits. That's what he's going to want to do. He wants the he wants few abilities that are going to build up momentum. He's want to weaken his opponent, and then he wants to do one big punch, end it. That's his gimmick. While, on the other hand, another character may want to go for more fly style, let's say Flyman. Flyman's going to want to do what? We just use momentum die for everything? God, what do you fucking roll then? Have guaranteed damage, maybe? So, and some builder moves. You're going to want some guaranteed damage attacks. Guaranteed attack. So, if we use momentum die to... No. Shit. No, we don't want any of that. Welcome to game design, everyone. Where I get to look at my goddamn notepad document and debate whether I'm doing everything right. Alright, so let's think. Build personal style out of each one. Three starter combo moves. 2 combo finishers. God, this is the worst because it's an hour ago. I had this all in my head and it worked perfectly when I went for a walk. It was in my head and it worked. All the math worked out in my head. And then I sat down, I talked for 40 minutes to myself, and now I can't remember what I wanted to do here. What is it? What am I looking at? You know what? I need more inspiration juice. Give me one moment. Popping a gold one with the boys. Or boy, possibly. Or whatever the hell you are, to be honest. Oh, snap my back into place again. Augment their abilities. This is just design theory right now. Just me. My goal really tonight, I don't really take how long it takes, is that I want to get this done. I want to get something basic done. As a proof of concept more than anything. Because if I can get the proof of concept done, that means the idea works. If the idea works, So allowing the character to build personal style out of each one. Number of moves is available in it. Each move. Summarized as actives, as offensive, defensive, or utility. Offensive moves deal damage to the opponent. Defensive keep the character safe. And keep the character safe. Utility moves augment the character's abilities and skills. So let's say, theoretically speaking, a character starts with one style. We'll use the absolver method of doing this. You start with one basic style. And as you learn different styles, as you level up effectively, you gain new styles that you can slot in to build your personal style of how you fight. So our boxer, let's say boxer man, starts as a slugger. That's how he specializes it. But we know he has some strength. He has got the strength and he's got the finesse. He's got the speed and he's got the strength. So maybe he goes into Swarmer later on. He pretty much gets the style of Swarmer. And he's big hitter. He's going to move in. He's going to do a lot of damage real fast. That's what he wants to do. That's his specialty. Then the outboxer has a lot more defensive moves because the idea is that you can't close the distance on him to do a move. So he's going to have a lot of defensive and utility moves to punish people who try to close the distance and attack him, such as counters or long punches to keep them at bay. Not the worst idea. Not a bad idea at all. I have a list of basic moves, of course. Your punch, your kicks. Yeah. So have your basic moves, your punch, your kick, your light dot, your dodges. What do you roll? That's your question. What do you roll? What do you roll? What do you roll? Maybe. Something like that. So depending on your stance, unless I move these. Okay, so let's do big thing time now. Big thing time with Notepad on. So you choose your attributes. These are all dice. All your attributes are dice. These are what you roll. You'll have your stamina pool, taking it from earlier. So your stamina pool has to be spent on moves, and dice augmentation. Excuse me. So to do your bigger moves, you're going to need more stamina. But someone like the slugger, he's not going to want to use a lot of his stamina. He wants to burn all his stamina in a single punch. But then you use your defensive maneuvers to dodge out of the way. That's how you fight someone like him. It's dex versus strength. You know, I shall win because my dex is superior. So that brings you to your style, which gives you your moves available to you. If I really want to, I can do tiered. It brings new moves to repertoire. New moves available to you. Each tier brings new moves to your repertoire. So I'm getting more options. So if I'm a slugger, let's say I start with tier 3. I get all the moves up to tier 3 slugger. But if I want to break into Swarmer, for example, I'm going to have to buy the first tier of Swarmer with my experience. Now I have all his moves in addition to my moves. They may not synergize well together at all, but they may work. And then your stance augments your attributes mid-combat. So aggressive stance plus strength minus break. Defensive stance plus break minus finesse. Neutral stance plus none plus null minus null. Bring in about a dozen other stances later on. Okay, I've been looking at the wrong game. I've been looking at the wrong game entirely. Keep the moves simple enough where you can flavor them however you want. They can do whatever you want them to do. Have each tier has a suitable number of things that you can keyword. I'm going to keep keywords for each tier. Able to augment other moves with the keyword. Power for slugger. Able to put into something for swarmer style. Something for swarmer style. So theoretically speaking, having a keyword here. Let's say I gain the keyword power from slugger. I'm able to put that in my swarmer moves if I want. Then I'll be able to build my own personal move set from a combination of things that I've learned. Theoretically mixing them all together. then I could probably put in a chain system. Expend stamina. Extend stamina, get more moves. But 0 stamina can get you thrashed if you're not careful. So you always have to make a gamble anytime you're wanting to combo chain things together. Being it's like, can I take him out, or can I do enough damage to him so he's not going to be able to do anything? So if I combo certain moves together, if I'm expending my stamina to get that, but then I'm at low stamina and he uses the move that reduces my stamina, suddenly I'm exposed and he can just rip me a new asshole because I wouldn't be able to defend myself with it. Certain styles augment simple moves. So you just have passive by virtue of being... Yeah. I think this works. Add in will. Now, how do you handle health? Body part health? Body part health. Tie each move to body parts. A slugger's going to need his arms, but not having your arm broken isn't going to help you. But if you get knocked out, if you just get punched in the head immediately, you're out, and like there's nothing you can do about it. So you always want to defend your head. So you always want to shift damage elsewhere, like your chest. But if your chest goes out, and your head goes out, you're effectively done. You're out of the fight because you've collapsed in the pain. But if they break your arm, you can't use your arm, obviously, same as if they break your leg. In which case you can then use, and that's the key point with weapons then. If you use in weapons target body parts easier. Able to cut, sever, and destroy certain parts. Can be disarmed though. Yeah. All right. What's your basic stamina at though? Tied to your style? No. So you're half of me. And that's how you can do armor as well. You're trading your stamina for additional health effectively on your body parts. So that's how you can do base stamina. Every character starts with just a base amount of stamina. We'll call it 10 maybe. Every action costs a stamina to use. One of your simple moves is just restore all lost stamina, but again, you're just leaving yourself exposed to them doing something to attack you with. Hello, phone. What do you need? Remind me in a bit. What's the answer? You know what? We'll go with something simple. Otherwise known as Googling it. That doesn't help me at all. God damn it, Reddit. Why are you so useless? Stamina systems and tabletop RPGs. And yet again, RPG Net doesn't. RPG is useless. Oh god, what was that one game? Dark Souls. Fire's far away. Hello there. Give me what I'm looking for. Alright. Fire's far away. This may be what I'm looking for. Alright. Let's hope this is what I'm looking for, at least. Be a dick. Stamina dice to the equip load. Stamina dice, stamina dice. Tell me about my stamina. Oh god, I just sneezed. Okay, not quite what I was looking for. I think I'm gonna have to do this one on my own. Yeah, I'm probably gonna have to just mad mode this one thoroughly just by myself. Alright. 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 Yeah, I'm just gonna have to do this, just break it down on my own. So, stamina pool. Okay. Alright. Alright, you know what? This works. There we go. going to... This is what we're going to have to do. Alright. Alright. So, what do we need to do? So, we're going to write Fist of Chaos. Fist of Chaos. And what is Fist of Chaos going to be? I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll probably come back to it tomorrow. But I have it. It works. The entire point of this stream has been justified. Go team! Or myself. So thank you all for watching, if you're watching, and have a wonderful rest of your night. Tomorrow we will begin the proper the building, you could say, of the the game proper of Fist of Chaos. We're going to turn it into a full legit game about kung fu action of beating the ever-living shit out of your enemies. Alright, well thank you all very much and have a wonderful rest of your day.